Hi, everybody. Welcome to Legacy Stories. Maria is here, and
Coua is also here. Hello.
yay. I missed you, by the way, yesterday on the interviews. It was so weird. I did two interviews without Coua because our schedules did not mesh. And also, one of them was really late. It's like eight. I ended up actually being seven. But anyway, it's kind of weird doing this stuff without you sometimes. And today, I know at the end of our last episode, we were really excited to kind of dive into our dreams and goals, like kind of what dreams we came with and everything, and our goals that we have. And I'm like, oh, I'm still so excited. I still have that energy. And I'm like, Kua, are you ready to talk about this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, you froze for a minute there with the cup in your hand. And I'm like, why is she frozen? What happened?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, not frozen. Okay, cool, good. Okay, so um, since I'm the one who came, let's say that I came with a bag of dreams and I had some goals, but they were kind of like there was basically one goal. I wanted to graduate college. Like that was the goal. Like I came for college and I wanted to do college. And I didn't have any other goals because it was all very new and unfamiliar. Because when
Maria,
you come, you don't know a lot of stuff.
for just 1 second. Before we dive into that juicy stuff, because I already hear juiciness, let's explain to our viewers what a goal is and what a dream is. Because
I
the way
like it.
we're already talking about it, they're two different things. So I'd love to just hear your explanation of a goal. What is a goal and what is a dream?
Okay. So goal is something that you kind of have a result in mind. It's like this is the result that I want. Dream is something that you wish that you want to happen, but you really don't have like a specific goal in mind. That's how I interpret it.
Mm, mm, okay.
So my dream was to come to US, but I didn't originally know how, right? But then when it turned out that I could come as a student, then it became like a goal to come. And when I was admitted to college, then the goal changed to graduate college.
Yeah.
However, my dream at that point was to go back home and use my education back home. But that was not, I did not have any result in mind. Like I didn't have a goal. It was like, it was a dream. Like I would come here, get the education, and then apply it back home. That was my dream. My goal that I had only was like, oh, I want to graduate college. That's the result that I'm working towards. So like for me, separation is like dreams is something that we kind of want, we desire, we wish for. It's the that category, but goals are something solid, something that we are working towards that we know kind of there's this end result. What do you think? Do you have a different definition, or does that how does that sound?
So how I think about it is goals help us achieve our dreams. So the goals
Yes,
are almost like it's like the plan, right? It's the how that we can control. It's what we know to do. And then the dream, that's where the uncertainty lies. It's like we don't know what's gonna happen, but like this is this big thing up here. This is what I'm shooting for, and the goals are like the steps to it.
I like it. That's a very succinct explanation. That's kind of like exactly. Yeah, I like that explanation too.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah. But
Okay.
as I said, like I brought my bag of dreams and like I had a goal in mind. How about you? Since you were here already, it's a little bit, you
Yeah.
know,
The whole thing with college, I had that same thing too. Like I knew from a very young age, like college was my dream. Seventh grade, college. That was my dream for a seventh grader. That's a pretty big dream, right? So then my goals then were to do good in school, right? To get good grades. And then I remember like, okay, I got to do community service. I need to have a job. I need to do some sort of extracurricular. I need to be involved in the community. Like those were my goals. And it's like I didn't even know that at the time, but I was becoming that person that sets goals, achieves them, and eventually like hits the dream. And now it's like when in my life now, that's basically the same thing that I've been doing over and over, right? Because as we evolve, our dreams constantly change. And when the dreams change, the goals change.
Yes, and that's the next thing that I want to jump into because I think as immigrants, as somebody who, when you have that, that's a big dream to move to another country, and it can involve a lot of goals inside of it. You have to accomplish quite a few things,
Yeah.
especially when you decide to stay, then it's a whole different ball game, right? I did not originally intend to stay. So it was a different, it was like I had that one goal. And then later staying was a totally different goal for me. And then, you have these smaller goals where it's like, okay, well, now I need to find a job and I need a, but your dream is evolving and your goals are changing. However, what I realized is like for us immigrants, the goals that we come with, the dreams that we come with, they're the dreams that we have from the beliefs and from the culture that you were in. So, how you're growing and your brain is developing and you're imagining things and you're wishing for things, you're having these dreams, but all of the dreams are built with these beliefs from where you're from,
Absolutely.
right? Like you have a dream, but you're in this culture of maybe scarcity. You're in the culture of maybe fear. You're in the culture of shame, right? Like your culture contains these specific,
Mhm.
or maybe even family culture, or maybe culture in general, or might be very conservative or something. So your dream is your dream, but there's all these other beliefs that you come with. The thing that happens to immigrants is we do evolve and our dreams do change. However, I think there's another thing that happens, another layer that when we come here and we achieve that dream and we start living that dream, we're like, well, shit, I don't want this because you have evolved. You're a totally different person. And the bath water that you're taking a bath in has changed, as in, like, you're in totally different culture. So the culture, I always think of it as the best way I can explain it is like for me, growing up in a country that was, it used to be stable, but then was teared apart by war, right? And when I was growing up, it was like you need to have a job that pays, as in like pays on time, job that's stable, and then it can't be physical labor. So nobody was talking about fulfillment, purpose, or anything. It's like you need to have something to like live off of. And for me, that's what I was like coming with a dream from, like those beliefs. I needed those things. My dream was those things. That's what it was based on. And then I fulfilled the dream, and it was like, but the bathwater changed. So now I live in a culture where, yes, of course, everybody has stable jobs, more or less. As in, like, if you have a job, you're going to be paid every week. If you have a job, you're mostly not going to be doing grueling physical labor outside unless you want to. It's a different culture. So I'm totally immersed in something else. So everything that I wanted originally was like, well, I don't, that's not like that. That's not like that. It's like mixing your apples and oranges. It's like now for living in this world, it's like you want fulfillment, you want purpose, you want something else. You don't any longer need safety and stability, which is what, as immigrants, many times when we come here, that's what we want. Like, I'm sure that when your parents came, they wanted safety and stability. Nobody was thinking about, oh, am I fulfilling my purpose? No, it was like, I need to feed my family and we need to be safe and we need to be able to be okay and stable. And of course, and that was my goal too. And now that I have it, I'm like, oh, well, you gotta burn it all down because none of it is like, I don't want any of it anymore because it just comes in the packaging of the new culture. We all here have safety and stability, at least it's like financial one. So now building a brand new dream, not just you have to build a dream now. That's why I was so excited to talk about it. It's like it's not, oh, I have a dream. I don't have a dream right now. Like in a sense that I had when I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to America and study. And it was like this huge dream. It's like, oh, this is interesting. I gotta build a dream and then build the goals. And then it's totally like you now have to figure out what do you want? what are you gonna do? Because it's not about survival and safety anymore. It's about like, oh, like purpose and really what you want to do and how do you want to accomplish this. And yeah, so how's that hitting you? All of that.
I wrote down a couple notes because as you were saying all that, like four things popped into my head. So I'm just gonna go over those. So number one, like dreams, goals are important, but I think the dream is the bigger picture. And I think that's the most important. If anything, have the dream. Because what the dream does is it pulls you. That is what, like, why you're waking up, why you're gonna keep living the life, why you're going to keep fighting the good fight. Because you have that, like, this is what I want to achieve. So I think that's like really, really important. And then the other thing I want to talk about is scarcity. You mentioned it a little bit at the beginning. And scarcity gets such like a bad name. It gets a really bad rep. But I think a little bit of scarcity can be good. And I'm saying that because our brain does tend to focus on what we don't have. But when we believe that we can have it too, that's why we start doing something, right? Like, okay, I know I don't have this, but I think it's possible for me. So that's why I'm like, a little bit of scarcity. Yeah, it's really good to realize like I don't have this and I want it and I'm going to go work for it.
Yeah, well, it's a motivator, right? Like, as why do all majority of immigrants that I know have succeeded largely compared to where they came from? Because that's a little bit of a driver. Scarcity can be a little bit of a driver when you have the opportunity, right? When they are in there, scarcity is not good. But when you come somewhere where you have more opportunities, it's a great, amazing driver.
It's just like that's why perspective and managing your mind, managing your thoughts is very important work. So you know like where is this coming from? Oh, I have this like I need to fill something. And instead of like sitting in it, you know that that's just kind of like a normal part of the human experience to see things that we don't have and then to actually have that drive to go after it versus just wallowing in it.
Yes. Yes, but it has something to do with the culture again. I'm like, if you're in a culture that is mostly, I'm not saying there's no opportunity, but if mentality of the culture and the opportunities are low, then you are gonna spend. That's how I see not everybody, but a lot of people. When I look at people back home, sometimes I'm like, oh, that's what's happening. They're sitting in it. It's so hard because they're sitting in it.
Right.
Yes, there's not great opportunities and everything, but everybody who can able to lift their head a little bit, it becomes a little easier. But if you're like just sitting in it, that's harder. But if you come here as an immigrant and then the opportunity is like on steroids, you become just like insane. But yeah, go ahead, tell me your next two things. I totally am.
One thing to add to that too, it's like I get why people sit in it, right? Because generational trauma is a real thing and like it's very prominent among immigrants, right? Like our parents and grandparents, they most likely grew up in a totally different way. We don't know what happened to them, but it is in our DNA. Like we're just wired that way. So that's why it's so important for us to do this work so that we get to change the lives of our children and their children and their children.
Oh, yeah, no, the scarcity is real in a sense that, look, I grew up in a culture where you did not go to a store and be like, oh, I want chocolate, I want chips, I want pop.
And
It
I'm
was
gonna
like, oh, today, yeah, and today is a treat, and we're gonna get this. Now, I'm not saying that's bad, but in a sense that the abundance is present in this culture, as in like majority of population can actually walk out and at certain point buy the things that they want. Maybe not everybody, maybe not every day, but majority of people can quench their desires, like the basic desires. Many people there, it's like a very rare treat. At least when I was growing up, that was the case with the war and everything. And there was like real scarcity during the war where it's like, oh no, the borders are closed, you're under sanctions, so you don't actually get your flour that you need to make bread. So it's like the scarcity is real in some of these cultures. It's not pretend. But the thing is, all these generational traumas, every generation going back had a war. So every generation, people can't really recuperate and recover. And then you hit them with more as they're trying to recuperate and recover. And then they're trying again. And it's like, so you're constantly like losing people, you're losing land, you're losing this, like the worst happened, it shift everything. So of course, yeah. I like you don't I don't scarcity mindset is not blamed onto people, but it's just good that, to understand that, like, you know what, all this thinking about how much we don't actually have, it's not helping. It's not going to give us more. It's still true that, there's not much, but sometimes not having much doesn't mean a bad thing.
Absolutely. I love that you said you talked about a rare treat, and I love that, like, her work is to make that rare treat not so rare anymore. And that's
Yes.
like that you get to go have fun with that. Like that's what you get to go experiment with, right? Like I didn't get chips and candy as a child, but now I get to experience, like, practice being safe while I get to have all these things on maybe a regular basis, maybe a weekly basis, whatever it is that I choose. I get to start practicing having all of it, because at one point in my life it didn't feel safe to have it. So that's our work, right?
Yeah. It's also work of, like, not my personal work is not like, it's a little bit different. It's almost like, well, now I can buy it, so let's buy it all. Because you're not capable of receiving it, right? You can buy it all,
Yeah.
but you can't receive it all, as in, like, you cannot enjoy it all.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not capable, because not that's not your system. So almost being like able to keep it as a treat, and it's a totally different podcast episode. I'm like, let's not go into that one because we'll go on forever. But do you want to share your other 2 points that you had, if you remember what they are?
Yep, I wrote it down. So you're talking about, like, our goals and dreams are, it's like an evolution, right? And I totally believe that. And I just have like two examples from my own life that I want to share with you guys so you understand this. So after I graduated college, even going into college, like my dream then was to have like a traditional career, 9 to 5, work in an office. It's like I achieved that, right? By doing the schooling, by applying for the jobs, by doing the interviews, by building the resume. Like I achieved that dream. And then once I was there, I realized, wait, this isn't my dream, because I had changed as a person. My dream was to work for myself. So then I started building different goals to get to the place of working for myself. My goals were, I worked with, like, I did self-development first. I started being around different people that didn't work in a traditional job. I hired a coach. So the goals changed because my dream changed. And then the other dream evolution I had was in home ownership. So like when I first started out in this like arena of owning a home, it's just like, yeah, I just want to own a home. That it was so basic. I just want to own a home. Any home will do. It'd be good. So what did I do? My goals: look at houses, look at, like, okay, here's my budget. Go see the houses, hire a realtor. And then that led me to owning my first home. And then a couple years into that, my husband and I decided, like, you know what? We started to dream bigger. We're like, what if we actually built a home? Because we had lived in the home, we saw how the home wasn't functional. Oh, I lost you.
I'm
Okay.
here.
We saw how, like, the home wasn't functional for our family. So then we started thinking outside the box of, like, okay, what's already listed? We started thinking outside of what was already listed. And we decided we're going to build a home. So then my goals changed. Let's save this amount of money. Let's start looking at land. Let's start looking at layouts. So those are my two examples. I hope that you guys can see, like, it's okay that dreams change. Like it's good that dreams change, because that means that you are growing as a person, and that's part of life, for you to be evolving to become who you're always meant to be.
Yeah. And see, I love those examples of evolution. I'm going to share my example of kind of burning it all down. So, when I say burning it all down, I don't mean like ditch everything at once. It is still like evolution within the burning it all down. But what is happening, it's like the person that's emerging has to build a new dream. And again, I came in, same as you, wanting a stable job, wanting to really be like, working in the specific field that I liked. And after graduation, I got this perfect job. And to be honest, that's when it hit me. When I got the job, it was like, crap, like that's it. Like that's when my evolution started, because it was like, wait, so we go to college and now like we're just like done and that's it. Like this is what we're supposed to do forever. Now I didn't have my documents, so I could not do anything. And I think that's a lucky thing for me, because I would have jumped into grad school or something else, which would have just locked me further in that same field, right? This way I was not too intertwined. So I kept going on to job, and there was like a point, like a couple of years, where I started hating the job, where I had to do the work to be able to go to job, because I couldn't just leave a job. I was a student. Well, I was on a work visa at that point. I was like, I was on a visa. I could not work for a day, otherwise I had to leave the country. And you could not go get a different job just to try things out, because you had to work in your field when you're on a visa. And so I was a little bit blue for a minute there. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but I was not happy. I was like, I could not get over the fact like this is life. Now, for somebody who loves learning and growing and doing new things, science has that. But the fact that you're locked into this one thing and that you're not directly learning, but it was not. So I found my way back. I found a way to like my job again. I found a way to enjoy going to my work, and it was tough work. It took time. And then when I finally got to that space, then slowly it looked like, oh, okay, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, because I could see my green card coming through. Finally, the application was going through. I had to wait specific time, but I could see things getting resolved. And honestly, the lawyer said like, oh, because you're not a PhD, your chance for green card is 50-50. I'm like, fine. And at that point in time, I was just sitting there. I'm like, I just want this resolved. I don't even care if I get it at this point. It's not that you don't care, but it's like, even if it's the other 50%, I know I'll be fine and I'll figure it out, because like I liked my job, but at that point, I did not know it consciously, but I think I knew it unconsciously that I'm just done. I was done doing it. That was not it. I did not know what was it. And that's when I started also doing all this, got a coach, got into the coaching program, doing all that stuff. And when I started having these shifts in my mind, I was like, oh crap, like this is good. But again, all those beliefs that I brought with me were stopping me from even imagining doing it. I was like, oh, it would be so good if somebody if somebody else could be able to do this and teach my people this, like in the other language. I started from that perspective of like, oh, somebody needs to do this like for my people. Somebody needs to do it in my language. I was like, oh, okay. Because it was so far that I could even do it. It took years of slowly building a dream. But then literally, and we'll talk about in another episode, leaving my job and deciding to do this other thing, it was literally burning it all down. I was like, okay, we're totally changing everything. We're totally like, this is like something new. And it's a little bit of a shock to the system, but it's not, because it's been going through that little bit of an evolution. And you can't see your evolution as you're going through it. You see it backwards. And it's like, okay, this all makes sense. Because the change was coming, but I could not even see what the change is going to be. So you guys are never alone. If you're going through anything like this, it's like, just keep taking one step at a time.
Yes.
Something will come.
Yes, I believe that. Any last words, thoughts on dreams, goals?
This has been a lot of fun. Building your own dream, where you have to like, you don't have to, but you're consciously thinking of what do you want, and building it in this country of opportunity, and also with this managed mind. It is insanely fun. It's like there's no boundaries for me. It's like, how the heck do I want to live? It's like, how do I want my day? And it's not easy, because you really have to answer that question. It's like, how do you want your day to look? And you really have to think, like, do you really want it like that? Because sometimes we're like, I just want to lay in the sun on the beach all day. But it's like, really, do you want to lay on the beach every day, all day? Because, you like learning and you'd get bored. And right? It's like really digging into it, going deep, answering the questions like, what do I want? That's basically how, like, I feel like building a dream is. But also there's work to do because you still have those beliefs that you brought with you as an immigrant, that you grew up with, that you brought with you. There's a lot of them, and they're just like tripping and tripping. And a lot of them for me are about money that I'm still working through. And a lot of them are about, being a business owner, doing this on my own, trusting yourself. And you got to work through that as you're growing. Otherwise, the growth is not going to be as fun. How about you? Do you have any last messages?
Just 3 thoughts that I have acquired about dreams on my evolution. So the first is that your dreams are planted inside of you. So that means they're unique, they're personal to you, and that's why you have them. And you have to make it your job to go after them because they are truly yours. No one else in the world of billions of people have them. That's why you have to go after them because only you can achieve it. The second thing is, like, once you dream it, once you just think it in your head, like, oh my gosh, yeah, this would be so cool. This is what I want. It's already, your order has been placed. That means God, the universe, wherever you believe, is already conspiring to make it happen once that thought hits your head. So you can just rest assured that it is coming to life. You don't know the speed, you don't know the how, but you can just like trust that, yep, it's happening because I had the thought that I want it. And then the final thing I want to say is, you're thinking of all of these dreams because you are already qualified. If you were not qualified, you would not be able to think of the dream.
Okay, I love the last one. And I have to add something to the second one because my brain just like trips on that. You know that it does. Because we have a little bit of a different approach to coaching. And my brain is like, basically, which just says places the order with the universe. My brain here is like, you give your brain an order to find proof for this, like to find a way for this. For me, it's like your brain is working in the background and it's choosing things that will lead you there, even when you don't know. So sometimes, like that intention, either whether it's God, whether it's universe, whether it's your own brain, it's like having an intention, having an idea, and putting it in there, and like not with that graspy, attached, tight energy. But it's like, I need this, I have to do this, or I'm gonna die. Being like, oh, this is what I want, and then just going and kind of taking the next step.
Live your life. Yep.
Fabulous conversation, Coua, as
Thanks.
always. Thank
Thanks.
you, everybody, for listening.